Have you ever noticed how some people age like fine wine and other people age like, well, a green grump living all alone on a mountain? Think the Grinch, the one whose heart was famously two sizes too small. He pushed everyone away, he hoarded resentment, and he let the hurt of all those past wrongs rule his life. And don't forget, nobody liked him. He didn't start out that way. He brought that bitterness on himself. He let anger and jealousy fester until joy was impossible. And in the end, he paid the price until something shifted inside him. He is a warning and a lesson to each of us. Holding on to resentment doesn't hurt anyone but you. You must understand, forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. You're not excusing what they did. You're not pretending it didn't hurt. You're simply saying, you're not going to live inside my head rent-free anymore. Forgiveness does not erase the past. It just gives you control over the future. You've heard me mention the magic formula in the past. Event plus response equals outcome. E plus R equals O. I'll put a link to that video up there somewhere. You can't always control the events of your life, but you can always control your response. And forgiveness is one of the most powerful responses you can have because it gives you control back over your own life. You take that control and you say, I am no longer going to allow someone else's words or actions to control my emotions and what I do with my life. That's why forgiveness is one of the best tools to use on that life engine I mentioned in a previous video. Your emotional fuel burns cleaner, it burns smoother, it's more peaceful. You fly faster and you climb even higher. Research consistently shows that forgiveness improves your mental health. You have less depression, less anxiety, and much greater life satisfaction. Physically, it lowers blood pressure, improves your sleep, and reduces stress hormones. Resentment keeps the body in low-grade fight-or-flight mode. Forgiveness flips the switch back to peace. And this isn't just theory, it's measurable science. You can feel it in your mood, your muscles, even your breathing. People often say, but if I forgive them, I'm letting them off the hook. Here's the thing though. If you keep the hook, you're the one who's caught. Forgiveness gets you off the hook. Here are some models that will help you forgive. Think of these as flight plans for your emotional release. Robert Enright's process model starts with uncovering the hurt, being honest about your anger, your disappointment, and your feelings of betrayal. Next, decide to forgive. Forgiveness is a deliberate choice, not a feeling or an emotion. Then comes the work, where you begin to see the offender as a flawed human being, not a villain in your story. And finally, deepening, where peace and meaning start to form. Many people report feeling lighter, freer, and more open to life again at this stage. And then there's Everett Worthington's REACH model, which gives hands-on practice at forgiving. First, R. Recall the hurt clearly without exaggerating or minimizing it. E. Empathize with the other person. Understand them, but don't excuse them. And then A. Altruistic gift. Remember a time when you were forgiven yourself. Next comes C. Commit to forgive. Write it, speak it, make it real. And finally, H. Hold on to that forgiveness when the old pain resurfaces. Both models remind us forgiveness is a process. You don't do it once and never feel the pain again. You just keep adjusting your emotional rudder until your life flies level again. Here's how you might practice forgiveness. First of all, name the hurt in a single sentence. They said X, they did Y. Feel it fully, no judgment, no rush, let the emotion run its course. And finally, choose one act that symbolizes release. Write a letter. Some people do that and then burn it, for example. You never send it. Or speak it. Or simply feel it and breathe it out. Big transformations start small, not with grand gestures, but with repeatable, intentional acts. I'm speaking from personal experience. I once carried the weight of a betrayal around my neck like a weight for years. I was never at peace. I spent months, years wallowing in that bitterness, and I even got to the point where I enjoyed feeling it because it made me feel like I was a better person than they were. And then one day I realized I was letting that person control my life. I was letting them steal my peace, rob me of my joy. And eventually, the burden of carrying that resentment became heavier than the thought of simply letting it go. And that's what forgiveness feels like, a lightness that relieves and surprises you. Research shows that forgiveness even buffers you against stress. People who forgive get sick less often, recover faster, and report higher happiness over time. It's like installing better shock absorbers on the road of life. Same bumps, but a smoother ride. Now, forgiveness does not mean staying in harm's way. If someone's behavior is toxic or dangerous, by all means, get away from them. You can forgive them internally, but guard your peace and your safety. True forgiveness involves honesty, boundaries, and the freedom to rebuild trust only when it's earned and it's safe. When you release grudges, you show up differently. You listen more, react less, your laughter sounds freer. The people around you feel it because you're no longer flying with unnecessary drag. Forgiveness strengthens relationships, not because you excuse others, but because you're finally free to connect without armor. Okay, here's this week's coaching moment. This week, pick one small resentment you've been holding, maybe an offhand comment, a forgotten favor, or a long ago slight. Use one of the methods we talked about before. Reach and write or your own approach and release it. And then leave a comment below and share with us what's one thing you've forgiven or need to forgive. Your story just might encourage someone else today. Once you've tried that, think about releasing an even bigger resentment. And while you're here, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss next week's video. Next time, we'll tackle the harder half of forgiveness, the kind that looks in the mirror. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is you. And until you do, self-blame can quietly sabotage your joy. We'll talk about releasing that weight and flying free once again. Don't become the Grinch in your own story, trapped in your past by bitterness and resentment. Be the kind of person that lightens the load and moves forward using forgiveness as a navigational tool. Remember, forgiveness is for yourself. Forgive for your sake, and watch how your relationships, your health, and your spirits climb again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.